Tired. Chris was like, no, just buy one of every Allen key. It's only $8. I'm like, Chris, this is like biblical levels of greed. I don't even need a Allen key the size of my forearm. When I need a key that bends, it looks like a crowbar. They have like little fold out ones. This one, I'm trying to get this. This guy just asked me which individual ones keep getting lost.
Okay, cool. We're back. So last week, Friday, we left off. We tried like a couple of free body diagrams, discussed why we use one versus the other. And last thing we did was I grabbed free body diagrams that I saw from someone on a luge course. So like on this sled that's going down this icy thing, we had a couple of different options. One was like flat, just what are the forces acting when moving forward, backward, but no slope. Another one was sort of like what's happening on the slope. And then the last one was looking at like the front view, kind of how the picture is, like the luge person coming at us in the picture, but up on the sidewall. So there's like some kind of constraint, normal force there. I know it's like, we just had the weekend, now you're telling me to remember something from Friday. It's like, it's all right, we'll get there. It's a recap. So let's think about like just this first diagram over here on the left. Is this sled, the person on the sled, is it accelerating? Accelerating, yeah. Yes? Okay. What's happening to the speed? Decreasing speed. So speed is decreasing, it is accelerating. So overall, we would say like equals to ma, and v is like going down. So we have a negative acceleration. Why did I draw ma to the right? Because it's slowing down?
No.
Oh.
A is the direction of acceleration.
Should I say that this is MA? Since I have no forward. Yeah.
Would it depend on if the force of gravity is bigger than the force of the drag?
At least from what I had seen in this diagram, like gravity and drag were 90 degrees to each other. That's what I saw some people draw. Maybe I didn't interpret the diagrams correctly, but this was the idea. Like we like went down a slope. Now we're on like a flat area. At least that's the way I interpreted it. Yeah, but it's a good question. Like, does it depend on? do I have to draw like do I have to consider two different types of motion? It's like one way of thinking about that. Do I need like an either or kind of thing here? What would you do in statics? Like if this was a static problem? Or it doesn't even have to be static. It just has to be like, if MA is 0, then does it matter which way these vectors are all drawn? No. Why doesn't it matter for a static problem? Nothing's moving. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about changes in momentum, because whether it's a positive or negative change in momentum, it's still 0. Dynamics is a little different. It does matter. You can do it backwards if you want, but it ends up being harder to keep track of which vector is pointed which direction. Okay, so we're not sure what's happening here, at least so far. Nobody volunteered a concrete strategy forward. Okay, so then what about for this next one? We have gravity pointing straight down, a normal force out of, like, not quite in the same direction. Where are we accelerating? Which direction are we going? Is it moving? Is nothing moving? Yeah. Okay, so we're somehow away from force of friction. All right. MA, like that. What if we deploy a parachute? Is MA still pointing down that way? Like increase our drag by a factor of 50. Do we still have MA pointing down that way? No? So we need a new definition of like forces and kinetic diagram here. There's never a good time to like force you to think, so we just do it every time. Monday afternoon, it's like, oh, I just ate lunch, I'm tired. Friday afternoon, it's like, I'm trying to get out of here. Wednesday, it's like, oh, I'm so burnt out, I can't do this anymore. So every time, we just do it, whether we like it or not. You gotta think about it. All right, so let's come up with a system. What are we doing? How do we decide like where acceleration is supposed to point here? Yep. Magnitude of forces. Okay, so depending on, so we would have to solve for all the forces and then figure out MA. That would be one way to do it, right? So that's one way. And just for my own, let's just think about simple, I mean, it's not super simple, but we're going to say there's a normal force, there's gravity, and let's put drag on there too. So I'm just going to ignore. So I'm going to ignore that friction. So just like a simplified version, just these three forces. So I want everybody to just take a look at this, draw your own, like, what is mass times acceleration? And then talk about like why you chose that direction.
Is it relative to like a net? Are you talking about the net acceleration or relative to that? Like,
So overall, there's only one, like MA is just one thing, right? Like it's one vector. The sum of the forces is all some change in momentum. Yeah.
if we've got friction point the mass of gravity and the mobile force cancel out, so he doesn't fall through the ice, but allows to be sliding against it.
So energy will be broken up into component forces. The one that's the same with F.
Oh yeah.
And friction, and then one that's parallel force.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but then
There's
also
acceleration.
Yeah. But then there's the acceleration.
No, I know. But he's asking where mass times acceleration instead of mass times gravity. Okay, that's fine. Where's all the force points? Right?
Intuitive.
I think so, because he said mass times acceleration.
Yeah.
I think it's just opposite of friction.
No, all the force would be
Okay.
and then even if
Oh, but then we've got that little bit of extra that gets us moving down.
Yeah.
So what's that moving down? I guess that's no force?
no, the move.
Because we need a force pushing us forward.
Yes.
So is it those forces X component?
Well, yeah. There's what's your depends on your frame of reference.
What if the frame of reference
The frame of
is
reference
the body?
is so the frame of reference is this upward dimension function. So the force has to moving.
Oh, it would be force of gravity.
Component of gravity. And it would be small, it would be larger than that.
We're still moving.
But yeah, friction is dependent on the mobile force.
I like it dependent.
Which is the normal force is equal to the gravity of light.
You better do good. Did you do good in mechanics and materials?
I did okay, this is more like physics.
I know.
We're trying to figure out the direction of
You didn't say the why, you said man, you said over.
Yeah, I think it's just the greatest down. I mean,
It's called something else. When I say yes man, it's not yes mom. Someone says yes.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
If I talk to a lady, she says
It's not like
yes,
it's
yes.
where she, like if the coefficient is really big, it's like,
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
How would you get sick?
Sounded that was.
Then how does fettuccine get sick?
It smells funny.
Fettuccine.
I walked in for like a split second. It smells like what? She was like, I need your fettuccine. Destroyed. I think it's destroyed too. I'm almost done already. I put 14 hours into the game. But I'm not recording because I was playing on this game. I'm sorry, I cheated. Just lazy it out.
Okay.
And my brother's still ahead of me. He's still ahead of me. He's almost done.
Okay, you guys.
Yeah.
How far did you get?
That would be another super silly.
Okay. So, crazy, you got it. I know, I was seeing, I was like, what are this, like, don't recommend my channel everywhere. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But there's also.
Did you play non-stop for 14 hours or no?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually played hard.
Oh.
I defeated because of that. Oh, wait, actually, yeah. No, I mean, I don't agree.
Because there's an evolution. Oh, I was all roads to go.
So, I mean, I was thinking that it depends on
I need like alcohol ginger beer extract. Have you had raw ginger beer? Oh shit. It's only really good. I mean, the fighting is don't say that. I mean, don't spoil it, Chris. What the fuck?
10 meters. Here's 0, there's 10.
No, that's Demon Slayer. I want to watch that with Jay. You should. Season 1's like beginning. Season 2 is disrespect. Season 3 is sheer trademark.
Yeah,
And now we got the movie. I'm not so sure. Season 3 source. Where they go into the little it's Miami's favorite, but it's still a really good season. No, but like, it's my issues with it are just because of how I take anime. You know, I'm a very selective person. Yeah. Well, it is short. I find that the payoff isn't very energetic. That's energetic.
All right, so there were some people that like didn't want to commit. It's like commitment's hard, especially when you're 19, 20 years old. It's like I got my whole life ahead of me. I can't just say acceleration's going to go this direction. Like I got to shop around a little bit, see who's out there, play the field. But of the people that did commit, they said, like, this is MA. If I'm on a slope, it feels like it should go downhill sliding. And this is that down? It doesn't look down, does it? There we go, like parallel to our slope. And this is usually how I define like mass times acceleration. Is everything over here in my forces, I don't really care. I don't care what the forces are doing. I don't care if they add up to a negative value, if they're adding up something else. If I know the direction of motion, then start defining like what, in my reference frame, what does positive motion look like? So for me, I would kind of look at this as like, this is my y-axis. Here's my x-axis, my position. It's like, that's my current position. Like if I'm at 0, maybe I'm at the top of the slope or the very top of the ramp. So positive velocity is downhill. Positive acceleration is an increase in velocity. That's also downhill. So anywhere that I define as like, this is my positive x direction, that's my positive acceleration in that x direction. And this value, like the actual value of A, that's going to change. Like if I'm moving faster, there's more drag. If I'm not moving at all, there's no drag. Like drag is a function of how fast I'm moving, the speed. So it'll change, but that's okay. But that's usually how I start, because this kinetic diagram is just based on like mass times acceleration. acceleration's describing motion, it's not prescribing motion. So it's just saying, like, if this thing's moving, where's it gonna go? So positive acceleration goes downhill, negative, it's going uphill. How does that sound for a system? Any issues with that? Again, there's more than one way to do it, but this is a nice, like, consistent way where every time you don't have to think about where are these forces pointing, where do they add up to, and even if there was a jump, now I could say there's an MAY and an MAX, and this thing, if it's on a constant slope, MAY is always 0. If it's reached a terminal speed, MAX is 0. Anyway, so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that. And then, now we can get into the weird stuff, if it wasn't weird already. If you're looking at this free body diagram, where is acceleration? Like, what's happening to this sled, this luge person? Remember, this is like kind of, their toes are pointed at us, and they're up on a wall going around at a high speed. So it's a banked wall. So they went up the wall, now they're going around. So where is this person accelerating? Yep. Towards us?
Yeah.
It could be, yeah. When you're going around a curve, so in that case, like if you think about driving a car or you're in a bus or any kind of moving vehicle, if you're speeding up around a curve, what's the biggest acceleration that you feel? Does it feel like, do you feel the speeding up more, or do you feel the, I know, and high school teachers won't like, do you feel the centrifugal force or the tangential force, like the going forward motion or the pushing outward motion? Which one do you think would be bigger? Outward? Centrifugal? Centripetal? Yeah, we'll get to that later. Centripetal versus centrifugal. It's a whole argument. It's a whole thing. A lot of drama there. Okay. So yeah, there might be acceleration like coming at us, like maybe they are speeding up or slowing down around the curve, but also something in the curve, like there's got to be some kind of centrifugal force. So what does that look like? What do you think? What do you think where is this person? So there's probably something, because we said that there was like drag and friction going this way. So yeah, we could say it's slowing down that way. But what about the other, like where do you draw the other stuff? Where is this thing going? Yeah.
But wouldn't there also be mass acceleration coming towards the side as they try?
Okay, so where do we put it on the side is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what do we want to do with that one? Perpendicular to normal? Okay. We can draw that one. Hold that. Where does it go? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They gave me mine today. The exact one. Yeah. I was, but apparently I forgot that I already applied for the check. I mean, you're not dedicated to it, right? Like, if I have to pick between ECE and applied mechanics, I'm gonna apply mechanics, you know? But like, I wanna know the ECE part too.
So right now,
Go anyway. Yeah. Tighten it down. Words. Who's your plan? Mine's still active. Computation. On top of it all.
All right, this one seems trickier. Most people are stumped. No, this one had like not even options of where forces would go, or where the acceleration would be.
isn't the acceleration just
Tangential to the curve?
yeah, tangential to the curve, because we're just viewing it at a given point, and then it moves as it moves along the curve.
So is it moving along the curve? Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, give me some more
so
thought
when
process there.
So we have a curve, right? And
Yeah.
then the force would be tangential to that curve at that point. And then as we move along the curve, that
Yeah.
tangential line changes slope.
Okay, so like race. So let's say the person is moving real fast. Like they're up 90 degrees off of the wall. Do you think the acceleration is pointing
It would be pointing downwards at that point.
like MA like that?
Yeah.
That would be, so I think that would be true if,
It goes at that point.
like if you think about like a marble rolling in a dish. Of like you start at the top of the dish, it rolls down, then comes up, or a pendulum, same thing. Like it starts here, rolls down. But if you're swinging, like you have a lot of momentum, and you're out here, where would the acceleration be? Like if we're up there, or take a ball on a string and swing it around. Now the string is like almost 90 degrees. Which way is your acceleration for that ball moving around on a string? So we have like,
So there's going to be like two forces. There's the one that like pulls it. If you have a ball on a string, there's a tension force pulling it towards the center.
yeah, like if we're swinging this ball around on a string, same kind of thing as like going around a banked curve. It's just instead of a normal force, we have a tension force kind of holding us on that path. I'm sorry, then you said something else, but I missed it.
There will be a tension force pulling it towards the center of that.
tension force pulling towards center. So what's the acceleration?
It'll just be it'll be a component of, the normal force is the force that counteracts against that, so it'll be equal to the tangent force.
To tangent?
To the tension force.
To tension?
Yeah, to tension. So when you have the ball on the string, there'll be a tension force, and then the normal force will be pointing outwards. So it'll equal.
Kind of like,
Yeah, so to keep
some kind of center seeking acceleration.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But when you cut that string, the ball just fly out. Like, I don't think it goes in.
Well, yeah, if you cut the string, there will be no tension force.
So with acceleration to be perpendicular to it?
So yeah, so now we're into a debate of like centripetal versus centrifugal force, which is great. So high school, did you have this like did you have this lecture in high school of like there's no such thing as centrifugal force? There's only centripetal. Did they say centripetal force or centripetal acceleration? This is pedantic but very important. What did they say? What do you think? What was it? Centripetal acceleration? Does anyone remember a centripetal force? A centripetal force? What was that? What's a centripetal force? Which one? A what? A rotational something? Yeah, it's definitely rotational, right? Like stuff rotating. So centripetal is center seeking. Centrifugal is more of like a pushing outward. Centrifugal forces absolutely exist. Like they exist. We use centrifuges all the time because centrifugal force exists. It's a body force. So you need something there to rotate to feel the centrifugal force. It's a weird thing. Weird pedantic description. Difference. So really what we can, and kind of what I'm getting at here is like we have, let's come back down to like here. If this is my z-axis, like the axis of rotation, I can say that there's some kind of like tangent acceleration, and I can say that there's some kind of centripetal acceleration, and that's my two components of acceleration. There's either a change in speed or a change in direction, and that's the only ways we can really define acceleration. So if I'm changing the direction by going along this wall, that's really like some kind of centripetal acceleration here. And a centrifugal force is m times AC, like our centripetal acceleration. It's just pointing in the opposite direction. Like it's all the force necessary to create that centripetal acceleration. So it definitely exists. So coming back to like here, if we're on this like kind of angle, some kind of slope like that, we can still draw this as, all right, well, I've got some kind of centripetal acceleration. And I can say, and centripetal acceleration is always that like v squared over r. And again, we'll get back to that, or we can always look it up. But the main thing is like, I'm either not changing speed or it's not changing by a lot, but I know I'm changing direction, so I need some kind of, my forces have to add up to that change in direction. Kind of makes sense? So it's a different, so in both of these cases, like whether I'm looking at the side or the front, I'm looking at what is the geometry of motion to figure out how do I define acceleration, rather than looking at forces to try to define my coordinate system. It's a different way of kind of approaching the problem. Rather than like statics, you can kind of look at where are all the forces, and based on like your feel for it. It's like, this feels like a negative reaction for us. You can kind of do that, and if you're wrong, then you get a negative, not a big deal. Here, it gets confusing if you get a negative of a vector that you already drew in the negative direction. So it's a negative of negative, which is positive, or stop there for a second, because I've been talking for a while. What questions are there for that part? Defining acceleration forces. Why are you doing to this? Why are you doing this to us? You only asked us for a free body diagram. It's like, that's true. We only had to draw the free body diagram, right? Like, we didn't actually have to decide where motion is happening. But that's the whole goal of this course, is like, these forces lead to that motion. So I wanted to start now, and the more practice we get, the better we'll be at it. Counterclockwise, Peterson. I missed it. Motion, moment of inertia. I like moment of inertia. Okay, so we beat that horse, right? So now we're up to problem 210. Coming down. All right, now we have a rocket. It's lifting off the ground. We want to include thrust, gravity, drag, and wind, and then point the rocket, treat it as a point mass. Draw a free body diagram of the rocket during the ascent. What is a point mass? Why is the problem specifically saying point mass? What would be the other option? What's a non-point mass? A pointless mass. What's a pointless mass? A mass what?
With no point.
With no point, yeah.
Well, a pointless mass could also just be an object that's
Okay.
has distributed mass. So
Okay, so distributed mass, right? More like so in this case, like differences for, like when someone comes to you, they're like, hey, you're an expert in dynamics, and you're like, why? Yes, I am. I trained under the famous Dr. Ryan Cooper. They can say, okay, great. I need a point mass simulation of this thing. It's like, okay, great, easy. That's easy to do. But then the next person comes in like, oh, you just made the simulation. I need a rigid body simulation of all these connected parts. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Pump the brakes, man. I don't want to do rigid body simulations because now I got to keep track of extra stuff. So rigid body has a location, and if it's in 3 dimensions, you have location X, Y, Z, but then you also have orientation of like, how much did you spin? How much are you rotating? How much are you like, yeah, your pitch, your roll, and then your yaw, at least for like airplane terms, pitch, roll, yaw. So you need all 6 things in your simulation if it's like a general rigid body. Point mass, it's like three coordinates, and then that's it. So that part's important. Point mass is usually easier, so it's usually better to just start point mass, and then when you figure out like, oh, this is too simple, then turn it into rigid body. Okay, so try it out. We need a point mass. So this whole rocket is just a dot. Not as interesting. So we'll draw it out anyway. We need like some blue flames in there, right? And then there we go. Now we're ready. We're going to take the rocket, turn it into a point piece.
Should we assume that the rocket is going up at like a vertical angle or maybe angles? I like to start assuming that it's not vertical, but you can go vertical. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So we're assuming gravity and drag won't be the same now. Yes. Yeah, well, I just said I was. Yeah, that's what we have. So I would consider it. You're in the way we don't start. That's what drag is. Almost wind, you don't know where the bounce is.
So this one is weird.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, and then we're also
The daisy chains each other. That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, really
It's gonna just gravity, but also something.
I just put it vertical. Roll out because the wind is better. Yeah.
You said vertical, not horizontal. You said horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because wind is never gonna, because the wind is vertical, just be included in drag.
I actually did try to get started. I literally just found it.
You've never heard of the
Yes.
it's like that, but it does have
So now it's really.
I love this describing things as
I mean, it's like playing taboo.
So I'm gonna keep mine angled. Some people said like it's takeoff, so they're just assuming that there's no change in angle of attack, that it's just vertical. That's okay. But I'm just gonna leave it at a little angle just so I can have a couple of different things here. Doesn't really change gravity, right? Still have gravity acting down. Thrust is always gonna be like with the rocket. the FD, so I always call like FD drag, like FD is some force of drag, pointing away from that thrust, because my assumption is that wherever thrust is going, that's where all the speed is. And then really, so wind, like the force from wind is another drag force, right? It's just your relative speed to ground might be 0, but the wind is non-zero, so now it's blowing on us somehow. Whether we do left or right, it's like, again, we keep track of it, right? Like an easterly wind maybe is this force of, and so a westerly wind would be a negative FW. Something like that. Did we get everything? I think so. Looks good. Then the question came up of like, wouldn't wind tilt this rocket? Like, shouldn't there be something rotating this? In our free body diagram, how could I rotate the rocket with my free body diagram? What do I need to apply to like rotate something? Torque? Yeah. So we need torque, and any rotation requires torque, right? So if we want to change the orientation of something, we need a torque somehow. Can I apply torque with any of these forces in my free body diagram? What's the moment arm for each force? Which one? Wind? Yeah, does wind have a moment arm in our diagram? No? Yeah. So point mass, this is the main thing that you lose out with point mass, is that there is no torque. Like there's no, at least to your center of mass. So you can't rotate a point mass around its center of mass because you're never applying torque. So whatever speed you were spinning to begin with, that's what you're going to spin forever because you're assuming that no forces are creating torque. It doesn't mean that they don't create torque. It just means that your model does not create torque. It's that we just assumed it was a point mass. And with that, call it a day. Yeah, we did some we set up some rocket science, did all sorts of cool stuff. Oh, for Coriolis effect. So Coriolis effect in this case, like if we wanted to say, on campus? No nuclear reactor. We have a cogen reactor. Yeah, that one's really cool because it's steam. Yeah, does URI has actual reactor? Ah, that's cool. I know Penn State, they have reactor. So for Coriolis effect, that would be more of like a change in acceleration for Coriolis effect, because now you would have like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. But CT's got subs too.
Like your A kind of altitude, a call it like lat, a longe. So if we were considering like the motion of the rocket relative to the Earth, then maybe we would also need Coriolis of like, because the Earth rotates under the rocket as it's taking off, it would look different to us standing still on Earth than it would to someone standing still in absolute space. But Coriolis effect does not affect the forces, like the actual forces. Does that help, Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, And yeah.